What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, your man's Toxic Ammo 331. Back at it with another video, and today we're doing yet another toxic tier list ranking. And today we're doing a tier list ranking of all the Transformers movies released to theaters, including Transformers 1, and I will be ranking them on tier list form from the worst to the best. But before we get into actual beginning of the video itself, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel, because number one, it's absolutely free. Number two, we're on the road. I may also maybe help with the YouTube algorithm. Recommend the video to more people. Maybe they could join that. Sorry, I just had a voice crack. And do feel free to comment your list down below. But that being said, guys, let's get right into it. Before we get right into it, here are the tiers. So we have best of the best, which means they are like they are the best of the franchise without any question. And if there's a flaw in it, it's a very, very minor flaw. Great means it comes close to best in the franchise, but there's a flaw that does hold it back. Unlike a minor flaw, which doesn't hold the movie back. Toxic goodness means it was good. It was a solid time. Decent means it was decent, but there was some stuff that I didn't like about the movie. Okay means overall it's a mixed bag, and I don't know how to feel about it. And then toxic trash means dumpster fire, the worst of this franchise. And, alright, so first off, we have Transformers Age of Extinction. And I also forgot to mention, by the way, if you guys want my more full in-depth thoughts of all these movies, I did a review series for all of these movies, and building up to Transformers 1 and each of their individual reviews. So if you want my more in-depth thoughts, be sure to check those out. And Transformers Age of Extinction, Toxic Trash. I went on a full-on rant because how much I hate this movie. Like, okay, so, and that I was literally got myself heated, really mad about thinking about everything they did in this movie. I will give one positive out the way, though. I think this is one of the better Decepticon villains out of the franchise. More specifically, the live-action franchise. This one having Lockdown, and I think he's cool. I think he's one of the better villains, but still, kind of gets a little generic later on in the movie. So, but this movie, I think, besides Lockdown, everything else I hated. I did not enjoy the new character of Jaeger, even though I love Mark Wahlberg. I did not enjoy him replacing Sam. I thought the whole entire daughter-boyfriend storyline where he's older than the daughter, so it's technically he's dating a minor. That whole entire storyline was just, what are you doing, Michael Bay? The action sequences, you don't get much of them. This movie is 3 hours long, and it is oh so boring. And I thought all the rest of the Transformers movies in the franchise were long, like building up to this point, and I thought they were ridiculously long. This movie throws it out of the water. The CGI in here, there were moments that looked good, then there were moments that looked bad, and everything in this movie I just did not like whatsoever, and the characters I could not stand. So, for that reason, it goes into toxic trash, and it's a shame that this is the only one to hit $1 billion, because it's the worst one, so, and it feels like that other one should have won $1 billion instead. Anyways, next up, we got Transformers Dark of the Moon. So, I hadn't rewatched this movie in a long, long time. So, when I rewatched it for the review series, I think it's decent. You know? And I'm going to be saying this a lot with all Michael Bay's Transformers movies. This one, again, was really long as well. But the action sequences in this one are probably the best out of the Transformers franchise. I thought they were all specifically awesome, particularly the third and final act of the whole entire movie, where you have the building tilting a little bit, and Sam and his new girlfriend are trying to hang on. I thought that was pretty cool. And also, Sentinel Prime was a really cool villain as well, and how it ties into. I feel the Decepticons were more at the forefront this time, which I actually enjoyed. So, with Sentinel Prime and Megatron, of course. The biggest negatives I have for the movie, unfortunately, is I think the new girlfriend wasn't needed. Because this time they didn't have Michaela return, played by Megan Fox, and this time they got Sam a whole entire new girlfriend. They could have just easily maybe made Sam single instead and made it his own story. I feel that would have been made the movie better, or if Michael Bay just would have paid Megan Fox a little bit more to come back into the role to finish at least Sam's trilogy, but they don't end up doing that, so that kind of ruins the relationship a little bit. It does feel a little overstuffed at times. It does, I do admit. It does have a lot of fun side characters in there here, though. You have Patrick, Patrick Dempsey, right? I think that's what the guy that is from Scream 3, and he's from Thanksgiving. He's cool to see in here too. But yeah, it's decent time. It's a decent time, so it goes there. Next up, we got Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. So this is the one most people thought the Transformers franchise started to go downhill. And this one, this one and the first movie I grew up on, so I have a little bias towards them, but I do admit it's not amazing. It's okay. It's okay. Because I still think there's a lot of stuff going for it. I mean, the action sequences, again, in here are really good. Particularly the forest fight scene with Optimus facing Megatron. That scene's really cool. And also the pyramid fight sequence as well is really cool. However, this movie is very jumbled. There's a lot of controversial jokes in here that I would not expect from this. There were some jokes that made me laugh a couple times, particularly when the robot's trying to kill Sam and Sam's screaming on the ground. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, overstuffed and overly long, so it goes into the okay. It's not terrible. Next up, we got the new dog. Or should I save that for last? I'm going to save that for last because that's a new dog in town. I'm going to save the new dog in town for last. First up, we got the first Transformers. And this one, I go into toxic goodness. I did not... Okay, so when in this most recent rewatch, I realized a few things before when I was younger. So the flaws that I have with it are... Megatron gets introduced into the movie way too long into the movie. Like, I think he actually comes into the real world. I mean, you get flashbacks of him in the movie a little bit earlier on, but that's pretty much it. But when he comes into physical form into the actual real world, it's not until an hour and 30 minutes into it, or something similar to that. And it's just, wow, it took you that long to introduce the main villain of the movie. Also, the length, again, it's a little bit too long. It's a little bit too long in here. But yeah, anyways, besides that, I think all the characters are really good. Well, probably not Michaela. Michaela becomes better in Revenge of the Fallen, I think. That's my hot take. But Sam's a decent character in here you don't mind following. He's not the best human protagonist, but he's still decent enough. He's not the worst in the world. There's a lot of jokes in here that I did not remember when I was younger, and they made me laugh quite a bit. So, yeah, they go into the toxic goodness in here. I really like the first Transformers movie. Next up, we got Bumblebee. And Bumblebee goes... Oh, this is really tough for me. I still love this movie, but I'm going to put it in the great tier. The only two issues I have with it is the family dynamic I think could have been dealt with a little bit better with Charlie's character. Also, it does feel very reminiscent of other movies, but that's not a huge thing of mine. But the that aesthetic with it of it feeling similar to other movies, you get those Amblin Pictures old type movie vibes, specifically similar to E.T., The Iron Giant, and you feel those all throughout the movie, which I think is really cool. Also, the movie set in the 80s, which I think was a really perfect setting for this movie. And this was basically a reboot slash prequel, where they just rebooted it with Bumblebee. So, and I think that was the smart decision. This was a good way to start that new reboot franchise. Um, the action sequences are really good in here, and also the dynamic between Charlie and Bumblebee really hit me this time when I rewatched this movie, because this is the best protagonist out of all the Transformers movies, and you don't actually mind following her. You kind of want to see more of her because she's such an interesting character, and Haley Steinfeld does such a great job playing as her. So, but yeah, that whole entire dynamic between Bumblebee and her, I thought was really sweet. So, yeah, it goes into great tier. I love it. Transformers The Last Knight. So I will admit, this is going in the same place as Transformers Age of Extinction, but this time I got a little more enjoyment factor out of watching it and not getting bored the whole entire time. But it is still a bad movie, I do admit. The whole entire Last Knight storyline I thought was goofy. There's some interesting ideas in here, but they don't really follow it up that well, where you have the evil Optimus Prime storyline, but it doesn't really do anything with it, unfortunately. Some of the fight sequences I thought were good. The villain, I forgot what her name was, like Angelica or something. I don't know. Well, I didn't care for her. It brings Megatron back again I completely forgot how they brought him back. And I just went, God, you're bringing him back again? He died twice already. Anyways, and it's just, why bring him back? Mark Wahlberg, I think, is a little bit of better character in here, but not a whole entire lot. Also, Isabella Merced is in here as well, in one of her first movie roles, which she does really good too, and I actually do like her character, even though I don't like those particular characters much most of the time, but this time it actually worked for me. So yeah, Toxic Trash, it's a bad movie, but I wouldn't mind watching it again. It's not terribly boring. Next up we got the Transformers 1980s animated movies. So I'm bet all the 80s people are gonna be yelling at me, but I'm putting it in decent. Hear me out on this one, okay? I never watched the Transformers animated show. And Sean Chandler, I was rewatching his Transformers review series. No, not Transformers review series. Transformers ranking. And he brought up a strong point. And there was something off about it when I rewatched the movie a few times ago. And I couldn't put my finger on it. So, Sean Chandler said it. It is a straight up sequel to the TV series. It does not, for new viewers, it does not tell you what happened, basically. So you have to basically guess what happens. That's the biggest negative of the movie. And I completely forgot and didn't know what it was. So thank you, Sean, for giving me that, because I knew something was up, but I couldn't remember. But it's still decent, though. The animation is very nostalgic in here, where you get those get that 80s animated cartoon show feel with this one. I also thought some of the sound effects were a little bit dated. I thought they were not good for the film. And Optimus Prime's death is very sad. So yeah, it's decent. It's decent. Next up, we got Transformers Rise of the Beast. And Transformers Rise of the Beast goes Toxic Goodness. I don't know. Yeah, I would say Toxic Goodness. I enjoy it a little bit more than Transformers Dark of the Moon, so I'll put it there. Because this time it actually focuses on the Autobots a little bit more than all these other movies would do, which I really appreciated. So, also I think they're called the Primals, right? I forgot what the beasts, whatever they're called. voiced by Ron Perlman. I thought they were cool too. I just wish we saw more of them. The action sequences are really good. Jaime Reyes, I'm pretty sure that's the actor's name, the guy that, whatever the guy's name is, that's from In the Heights and Twisters. He's really good in here as the main lead, but he's still not an amazing protagonist by any means. So, yeah, it goes Toxic Goodness. It's good. It's good. And then next up, we got Transformers 1. Right now, I mean, I might change my mind later on for the ranking of the movies, but as of right now, this is the best of the franchise for me. There's one minor negative in here, and that is Optimus Prime when Chris Hemsworth tries to do his impression of him and doesn't just do a straight up American accent. I feel he could have just stuck to his American accent when he was trying to do Optimus Prime impersonation. Anyways, but besides from that, and this movie hasn't came out to the general public yet because a couple of us have seen early screenings. This movie, I'll say, is the best of the franchise. I was very hesitant from the start with the trailers, and this one actually won me over. The animation was pretty decent. It did take a while for you. It did take a while for you to grow, for the animation to grow on you. But once it grows on you, and you actually really like the animation. I thought all the voice acting was really good with Chris Hemsworth as Optimus. Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee was the standout for me. I thought he was hilarious. And Tyree Michael Henry, I think that's the guy's name from the Eternals. He did really phenomenal as Megatron. And this one also follows the brotherhood of Megatron and Optimus, which I found very fascinating for them to explore, and they did a really good job with that on here as a prequel. So, with that being said, guys, that is my toxic tier list ranking of all the Transformers movies theatrically released. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on the Transformers movies down below in your lists. But with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace.